hopefully I can. What I will say though is that everybody else has said as well, is that we are all unique, and so anything I say that doesn't resonate with you, just kind of throw it away, just forget about it, right? If it does resonate with you, you may wish to explore it more, whether that's with me or some of the other people that have been here today or someone else. The other thing I've noticed is, if something really, can I say this, pisses me off, if something really pisses me off, right, or really like annoys me, and it's like, oh for God's sake, that's ridiculous, which I got when I first had an introduction to angels many years ago. I thought they were rather pathetic, these wing things. I thought, oh for God's sake, and it was a really strong reaction, right? So when I kept getting this after about the third time, I was like, you might want to look at that, and having a bit of a strong reaction, and all it is an image of an angel. So I did, and I found a lot of expanded awareness or expanded consciousness within me when I did that. So I would say, if it doesn't resonate, then you leave it. If it does, you might want to explore it. If it really annoys you, I think explore that one as well, because that can be really good. However you're kind of guided to do that, which might be asking friends, talking to somebody else, going on our lovely God Google, or whatever it might be. So I want to talk today about my understanding, and where I've come to here, of my understanding of the reality of our existence, or your existence. And hopefully the tech will work. Oh, it is working, that's good. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about me, not too much, just so you know why I can't be sitting here. I want to talk about where we are now, in terms of that we are going through, and I'm sure most of you know this, a massive leap, as people love to say, in human consciousness, in our growth, our evolution and ascension. And the people that have been on before haven't talked about that and their experiences and what they're being guided to look at for themselves and to assist anybody else that it resonates with. So I want to talk about that. This is a little thing, I've just called it the art of being, just as a little word or a description to use about my understanding of who we are as individuals. What can we challenge in? We've heard some of that already. And really talking about how awareness, being aware of what's happening to us in any given moment, in any now moment, is the key, which I have to say is one that I will continue to work on, probably till I pass from this physical body, because when I, just as you were saying, just when you think you're aware, there's another Russian doll. One of my clients coined it lovely as the eternal onion. So I thought, well, that's quite a good one. It's like it says just another layer. But another thing to mention is there's only another layer if we so choose to explore that. So, your name's just called me, sorry. Liz. So Liz was talking about how, all these amazing things happen to her over a period of time, but they wouldn't have happened if you weren't able to deal with them with that. So it's like only things that will happen to us and our expansion and consciousness will only happen if it's something that we are comfortable with on whatever level that is. Triggers, oh yeah, we've got quite a few of those, a whole host of different things. And this is what I want us to get into. I'll put 5 simple practices. We're actually probably going to do 6 or 7 different things that you can try. And if we get time, we'll have a look and see. If we get time to do like a more kind of formal meditation, we'll see. Okay. So this is the main thing that happened to me. When I was 2 months old, I actually nearly died. I was in hospital for a couple of weeks. I had asthma and bronchitis. And at the time, very similar to what's been happening in the last 2 years, mothers were not allowed to be with their children, which, they'd go to hospital. My mum was allowed to see me for half an hour. And at that time, because I've done a lot of regression, if that's even the right word, gone back to that time, I actually shut down my emotions. I didn't know it. I just closed all my emotions down, thought it wasn't safe. Apparently my mum has told me that all the hair at the back of my head got worn away because I cried so much, because it's like I'd been abandoned. That was as this little divine little being of 2 months old, that was my interpretation. And from that point on, I hardly ever cried. I just thought I was in a very male-dominated job. I was working in corporate sales, and I just thought, oh, I'm like a man, I don't cry, and that's how it is. And then until that fatal time in 1998, I had quite a severe back injury where I couldn't sit or, so basically sitting, driving, and my job was driving and sitting with clients. Within a couple of minutes I'd be in pain, quite severe pain, that would then last until I lay down or possibly went for a walk. That helped a bit. And I tried everything when I had this severe pain. I went to the doctors and he just said, oh, it's your age. Have some painkillers, bless him. Another doctor did give me some acupuncture, that helped a little bit. I had osteopathy, I had chiropractic, I had massage, you name it, I tried it, and nothing really, you know, the acupuncture helped a little bit, but nothing really got rid of this pain until I was having my nails done, and the woman said, why don't you go and have some Reiki? And I said, oh, what's that? She said, I don't really know, they sort of put their hands on you and it does something. So that's how I went along with that belief. And after the first session, my pain started to subside, and I was like, wow, this is something that's happening here. And over a 3-month period, the pain completely went. With the pain going, tears started to come. And I was like, what's going on here? I don't cry, why am I crying? So then I'm trying to analyse where the tears are coming from, not understanding what's going on, that I'm connecting to this emotional part of me that had been closed. She then said, well, you too can learn to do Reiki, whatever that was. And I thought, yeah, this feels very, I feel very in resonance with this. It's helped me so much. I don't understand what happened, but I know it helped me. I know I'm not in pain now, and I've got these feelings, and that's a bit kind of weird, but so I went on to do Reiki, and I knew the first session that I did that I would actually go on to teach it. And I have to say, for me, that was kind of a key opener for me, a door opener to open up all these. And this morning they talked about it being inner senses, inner or extra senses, where we get these extra senses of perception, if you like. And what happened is it just started to expand for me. And then I wanted to try and learn different things. And so, as I said this morning, it's not something that's outside of you, but what I believe, like what everybody's talked about, is that there are all these tools and techniques, if you like, or keys, that can help us unlock and connect to this eternal part of us, if you like, or the soul or spirit or whatever you want to call it. So that's what I started to do, and boy did I do it. And I think probably most of you are probably somewhere on that path of like, oh, that's interesting, that's that. Like a bit like a kid in a candy shop. So yeah, I went on to practice it. And what happened when I first started doing it, I didn't have a lot of confidence. So when I first started sort of doing Reiki, I was like, I don't know if this is working, I can't really feel it. So I went to volunteer at an animal sanctuary. And for me, that was a big, massive opener, because they didn't know what was happening. I wasn't saying, oh, I might put my hands on you or off you and this might happen. They just were. And these animals just started to get healed. It's, for those of you that know, I was for about 14 years at Wood Green and the Cats Protection around here, which I still work with. And they were just having these amazing healings. So if they had behavioural issues or if they had physical issues, it was starting to have this massive transformation. And I was like, well, something's happening. I don't know what's happening, but something's happening. And so that for me was just the, like, okay, I don't need to understand what it is here. There's something magical going on here. And actually, the people that I was there with, I was just volunteering there, and they said, can we do what you do? We want to help the animals. And so they then went to their directors and said, can she please come along and teach us? So it was just amazing. So I did that for quite a long time. Yeah, so I just wanted to sort of kind of share that, because for me it wasn't about a person saying, well, I don't know if I believe this or not, or this is my belief system, or it was just energy and it was working. So yeah, it was. Like a lot of people, I've kind of moved on. You know, the Russian doll, as you beautifully put, you know, expands and we try new things, just like all of you will be with different things. So about 15 years ago, I was kind of guided to work with other tools such as sound, and I know some of you have been to sound baths, but also to work with more symbols, and I started getting channeling and getting symbols that were not the Reiki symbols, other symbols. And this is so I got those, and then I was guided to create an album and those things. But yeah, so the only point of saying what I did here is that what I found is all these different things, as I'm sure all of you could list with different things that you've looked at, they all, for me, are just helping expanding my awareness and expanding my consciousness. And I feel that there isn't one thing. There's one thing that we might be like helping or supporting ourselves and people with now, but over the years, and I still use or have support on those aspects from other people as well. And the point, I'm just going to go off on a slight tangent here, because it was when other people were speaking about the interconnectedness. Is anybody here a massive Avatar fan?
Can't wait for the second one tonight.
Has anyone seen Avatar? Yeah, okay. So in Avatar, they talk about, what was the tree called? Awa, was it Awa? Yes, Awa was a tree that like connected everything. Well, what you may or may not be aware of is that they, in the last few years, have actually discovered that trees have an interconnectedness and communicate all over the world. So, like, if we're ever in any doubt, science is starting to catch up with what we're kind of feeling and connecting to. So that's why I feel none of us are an island. None of us are on our own, and all through my life I will continue to have support from others, and the more I tune into it, the more I realise what that can mean in whichever form. So if you're getting an intuition that says, oh, I feel like this could be helpful to me, whatever it is, follow it through. It might just be a thought, or you might have just bumped into someone and they just had a massage, and you know, I feel like it could be, go and have a massage. Or you've seen something on TV, or you've just, for example, a beautiful demonstration of the man on his horse, or whatever, you might be guided to then start going to spiritualist churches, or connecting with some of the people here and say, actually, I am going to have that reading. If that's tuning in for you, then do it. Follow it through, because this is like how we teach ourselves and remember about our learning, and how we expand, because we start listening to these like sparks that we're getting. And so then one of the things, this is one of my kind of latest things that I've been given is, I said I wanted to kind of bring back some of the technologies of the ancients, and I do. Some of you may think that Atlantis and places like that is mythical, but it is something that I do actually believe in my little space that existed somewhere. And they said that they had beds made of crystals that you would lie on. And as you may know, crystals are in every single device. So every computer, every phone, every radio, they used to have quartz watches or something they were called, weren't they? And the reason for that is because they have a quality which amplifies. So, and I know this morning Claire and David were talking about the fact that we have our own energy, but these tools can support us and help amplify things. So anyway, long story, but I got gifted these crystals, and I now have a crystal bed, and so all these magical things happen when I continue to look to be in alignment with what's feeling right, how I'm feeling, and being in tune. So it's like the more I practice, I don't know what it might be, cycling, driving, running, whatever it is, you don't get to be at the Olympics by just going out for a run or just doing a swim in the pool. It's the constant practice, and it's no different with any of these inner or extra senses, or this expansion of ourselves. So I went through a phase of publishing some articles in medical journals and things like that. Okay. So, some of the previous speakers have talked about this. what is growth, evolutionary, and ascension? They're just different words to, for me, whichever one's floating your boat, are just about us expanding our conscious awareness of who we are. And we start to get things like heightened intuition, noticing things, knowing things. And we were talking earlier, weren't we, about, what was it, was it a dragon? No, what was the animal that you'd seen a couple of times?
A green woodpecker.
A green woodpecker, yeah. So where I live, there's a green woodpecker. Where you live, there isn't any, and then you'd seen two, like in succession, hadn't you? So usually for me, that's like, oh, I wondered what that could be. So if that was me, I might go and Google, oh, green woodpecker, and there might be something on there that I then is some guidance for me. Or I might sit and meditate, and I might get the information, because we're all going to be different how we get it. So, telepathic communication, we've talked about that before. So humans, animals, plants, again, my knowing, my belief is that we are all interconnected, and it's there. We're just learning and remembering to be on that frequency. And you all have experienced it to some degree. And it can be a simple one. You go around your mum's or something, or you go home and something just says, oh, I think the plants in the water, and you go and look and they're dry as a bone and you've forgotten to water them. And you haven't really looked at them. Something just kind of tells you. You've gone to your mum's and she looks after her plants brilliantly, and something kind of switches in. That's just a simple everyday one. Or deja vu, we're getting loads of that at the moment. And while people have been speaking today, the one thing I got, which was about as you were talking about the past, present, and future. And again, it's something I've come to from my truth, is that time is not linear. We're living in linear time from minute to minute. It's actually all happening at once. And interestingly, these coincidences, I came across a real live example of this, and I remember it very well. It was 2003, and I was reading Seth books. So I can highly recommend that one. Again, they're all coming up. Reading Seth book, and I'm reading a bit about time and how it's explaining about time. And we were in Cardiff, and I was working, and we were doing a presentation the next day. I remember to Cardiff ports, and we were all meeting, the bosses, to discuss how we were going to do it. And I was waiting for them, and it was about 6:15. So I remember, and I said to my boss, well, when's the big boss coming? And he said, 7 o'clock. I went, okay, I'm going to have a drink then, and we'll have something to eat at 7 o'clock. So I'm sitting in the bar, got my drink, reading this about time's not linear. Now, bearing in mind, this is 2003, so what's that, nearly 20 years ago. Mobile phones weren't ones that you touched then, they were the original ones. They weren't the great big brick things, but they were the ones that you had to physically touch the keyboard for it to move. And I didn't have a watch on me, I had my phone. I looked at my phone and it said 6:15, and I pop it in the bag, carry everything. It's a bit late, there's no clocks anywhere, and I'm like, I wonder what the time is. I get my phone out and it says 4 o'clock. And I'm like, how can the time say 4 o'clock? I haven't touched it, it's been in my bag. There's nothing. It wasn't even like, it could be British summertime, so it's gone back and out. No, it was like totally out of sync. And I'm like, okay, this is a bit freaky here. So I go up to the bar and I said, can you tell me what the time is? And he said, yeah, it's just before 7 o'clock. So I'd obviously tuned in that it was the right time when people were coming. Also, this a mobile phone that cannot change had changed. And then that also happened twice when I was staying in hotel rooms, where I would often use on the TV, they would often have an alarm clock then, and I'd look at the alarm clock and it'd have the wrong time on it, and then I'd go and have a shower and I'd come back and the time's changed, and it's not changed to the current time, it's just changed. And I'm like, okay, I'm being shown here. So yeah, this is so often for me, the experiences I've had when I've read these books. It can be with anything, it can be with people, it can be with books. I'm reading this book about time, and then I get irrefutable evidence that time isn't linear. I can't explain it. There's no explanation for it. Another one, which isn't about time, but it's about energy, has anybody heard of Remy Peacock? Okay, so and they don't have many. Most of the research that's been done, as I'm sure the rest of you know, is being paid for by the big pharmaceutical companies. So obviously they want to research how good the pharmaceuticals can be for us. They're not going to research how we could actually be expanding and healing ourselves, because I really do that. So a lot of the research that's been done in these areas isn't that expansive because it's people funding it themselves. So this was a scientist called René Keogh, and I don't necessarily agree with what he did, but he had like a pen, let's say this is a pen, and he put day-old chicks in it, and if you Google it, you'll find it. I think it's P-E-O-C-H, René Keogh. It was in the 1980s. So you've got a pen like this, he put day-old chicks in it. And one end of the pen was separated, say like a third of it. So the chicks were in the top third of it. The bottom 2/3, which was separated, so let's say by wire fencing, had an REM in it, which is a random event generator. So have any of you ever had or tried those, you know, the automatic vacuum cleaners, like circular disc things, and they're supposed to like clean your house and they go randomly, which they don't pick stuff up. I've tried it, but so it's a little square box like that, which was a computer that would randomly, it was called an event generator because on the graph it would generate an event of where it's been. So if it was in this hall, it would randomly go over the whole hall. Doesn't matter what you did, that's how it was programmed. When the chicks were in this part and this random event generator was in this part, on the graph, it didn't, or where it went, it didn't go any further than 25% away from the chicks. Impossible, can't do it. So he did it time and time again, and it came back with the same answer. So what he concluded from that was some way, for some reason, these day-old chicks were imprinting onto the computer, as it being mummy, onto this random event generator, and they couldn't go away from it. So they can't actually explain why they do it. Similar thing happened with 3-day-old rabbits. Rabbits are very sensitive to light, and it actually had a light on it. So they didn't want this thing near it. So it was at the other end of this, if you like, this pen or this